It's always a pleasure when you guys are watching this episode, and we are always excited to bring you new information, new thought patterns, and things that are happening around you and globally. So again, Mr. Mzangwezi, we thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. So just talking about hazardous chemicals, just give us a brief analysis of the classification of chemicals and also their uses.
Thank you very much. I would want to start with the second one. Actually, in the world, we've got more than 100,000 different types of chemicals, which have got various uses. We need chemicals in our day-to-day lives. Some chemicals are used as industrial chemicals. Some are used in the mining sector for the value addition or extraction of minerals. Chemicals are also used in agriculture for the process of controlling pests and diseases that affect plants. Some chemicals are also used in the manufacture of drugs, but also for basic things like cleaning chemicals. So we see various sectors also using chemicals, and the classification of chemicals also depends on their chemical composition, but also on their effects and on their capabilities, because these chemicals are being used because of their properties.
True.
Yes. But the chemicals have got an effect. In addition to them serving a function, they also can affect human health. They can also affect the environment. So these are things that we need to know. We've got various chemicals, for example, some which are corrosive, which means that they can destroy surfaces. They can also destroy human flesh. Here we are talking about chemicals like chemicals which are classified as acidic, or chemicals which are classified as caustic, the likes of sodium hydroxide, but also in terms of the acidic ones, likes of sulfuric acid. So you've got companies, for example, who are in the battery manufacture, which also then use acids in their particular process. Some chemicals are flammable because it means they can ignite at a relatively low, flash point. Here we're looking at basic chemicals we use in day-to-day life: your diesel, your petrol, kerosene, gasoline, jet fuel, paraffin, which in other countries which do not have access to electricity and also who don't have regular access to firewood may end up using paraffin. But we are saying, in a green economy, we are discouraging such things. But if you are going to be using those chemicals, you need to manage them very well. There can be a chance of spontaneous ignition and fire if you are using petrol. At fuel stations, we actually encourage people to take extra precautions. So those chemicals can actually be classified as flammable chemicals. And I think in Zimbabwe, we remember a few years ago we had a disaster in Sunningdale, where a road tanker exploded after an accident, and residents were trying to help themselves with the fuel which was leaking from that particular tanker. There are chemicals which are carcinogenic. These are chemicals that can cause cancer. So our employees need to be educated that some chemicals are very dangerous. They can actually cause cancer, and they are classified as carcinogenic. Some chemicals are irritant, meaning that they can irritate the skin, they can irritate various body parts, they can also irritate our respiratory systems. There are also explosive chemicals, which can also lead to destruction if they are not managed in a environmentally sound manner. Some of these explosive chemicals are used in the mining sector for blasting. So it's very common for you to hear people saying hazardous chemicals or hazardous substances. And then it's important that companies, they take their employees through what we call hazmat training, hazardous materials training. Why is that important? For people to know the hazards of the chemical, what can cause injury to them. So in a nutshell, I've just classified them in those particular classes, and also just to highlight that there are multiple uses of chemicals. But what is important is we need chemicals, but we need to manage them in an environmentally sound manner, so that we can protect the environment, but also protect human health and safety.
Okay, so speaking about protecting the working environment, what are the effects of these chemicals in a working environment?
Yeah, chemicals are very, very deadly if they are not managed in a proper way. From an environmental perspective, I want to talk about what we call biomagnification or bioaccumulation. Some chemicals can actually accumulate in the environment, higher up in the food chain through organisms. If you are releasing chemicals into the water, they can accumulate through fish, and then when people consume the fish, then it ends up in their own system. The world knows of the Minamata disaster which happened in Japan when the Japanese in a community, they were consuming fish which was exposed to substances which have mercury, okay, and it led to what we call the Minamata disease. So the effects is that the chemicals can actually build up into food chains and then affect human beings. Most of the chemicals can actually cause fatality. They can elicit fatality, that a person can actually die after being exposed to the chemical, for example, through ingestion of the chemical, taking in the chemical. Some of the chemicals have got effects on the development of young children, particularly their nervous system, which is still developing. Chemicals can actually affect their IQ and their mental development, particularly chemicals which consist of heavy metals. We also have got more advanced chemicals that also can cause physiological effects. They can cause deformities. Some chemicals can actually result in the loss of fertility in various organisms, in human beings, but also in animals. We are also now hearing that chemicals such as DDT, which are used in fumigation of mosquitoes, have been detected in the breast milk of lactating mothers in certain African countries as a result of the lack of protective clothing. So what happens is that some of the chemicals can actually then be passed through breast milk to a young child, and effects can also be seen. We've also seen some chemicals affecting other organisms, like causing crocodile eggshell thinning. The eggshells of crocodiles thinning as a result of the chemicals. Some can cause headaches, nausea, dizziness, amongst other issues. Let me say that the effects of chemicals can be acute or chronic, and this is very important from an environmental toxicology perspective. Some chemicals can then elicit death in a few hours or in a few minutes after exposure, but stakeholders must know that some chemicals can actually have chronic effects. When we talk about chronic effects, we are saying that the adverse effects of the chemical can be seen, can manifest itself in the long run, many years to come. So you'll be accumulating the chemical, you will be exposed to the chemical, but the effects will gradually, onset, and maybe you will see them in the next few years.